ever felt personally victimized by a philosophy book, this one is a repeat offender. Nietzsche didn't write Thus Spoke Zarathustra to try and explain the world. He wrote it to see if he'd be able to survive in this world. Today we're going to be talking about the strangest, darkest, and most provocative starting point for philosophy. To me, this is not a book that you read out of pleasure. It's more a book that you read when you know like something is off in your life, or comfort feels like a lie, or something just feels strange. Nietzsche doesn't just invite you in, he summons you in, and once you get in, it's like not a soft landing. It's a hard landing full of apophthegms, allegories, and prophets speaking in riddles. Within the book, Zarathustra emerges from the mountains after 10 years of solitude, not a saint, but a man sharpened by isolation. He emerges, or he descends back onto humanity because, as Nietzsche describes it, humanity has become dangerously complacent, with their inherent values, religious certainty, and never having to question why they do the things that they do. This is not a redemption story, it's more of an indictment. Zarathustra doesn't come to save humanity, he comes to expose it. Okay. We have invented happiness, say the last men, and they blink. To me, this line is devastatingly cruel because the last men represent complacency, safety, inherent values, and spiritual numbness. Zarathustra doesn't come down to earth to kind of exempt or save them from their wrongdoings. He comes to expose it and to kind of hold humanity accountable for what we've become. To me, this is also quite interesting because someone who's quite familiar with Christian texts, it's kind of like the opposite of what Christianity has to offer, where Zarathustra and Jesus can, in my opinion, can be used interchangeably here. Zarathustra doesn't come to gain disciples, right? Where in Christianity we have a Jesus who comes down to save humanity from themselves if they follow him. Whether they do or don't, I don't think that's up for debate, right? But within the Christian texts, discipleness is kind of praised, and where we have Zarathustra who's here to bring enlightenment and who's here to kind of be like, hey, here are your flaws, see them for what they are. I'm not here to gain a following. I'm here to kind of hold you accountable for what humanity has become. After this book is the death of God, and this is not some dramatic declaration. It's more a philosophical catastrophe, if I can say that. And Nietzsche is ensuring his warning that God is dead, and that means that morality, purpose, and meaning are no longer this prepackaged notion that people can subscribe to, authority to appeal to, and there is no magical referee. And the last men upset Zarathustra because they have become basically numb to what's happening around them. It's eternal recurrence, which is honestly my worst nightmare as an overthinker. But this to me is the darkest and most merciless thought experiment throughout the book. Imagine every moment of your life you had to live forever and ever over again, knowing what you know about your life and how it's played out, and not being able to change a thing about it. And Nietzsche asks yourself, if there are things that you would have changed, why is that? And it also makes you sit and kind of reflect upon your life and kind of make the decisions that you make within your life and how you live your life more intentionally, because the idea of reliving the past 26 years of my life terrifies me. Stylistically, this book is excessive, theatrical, and unapologetically dramatic. There's something almost self-destructive in the way that Nietzsche doesn't let the reader settle into his texts. Just when you start to think that you're understanding what he's saying, he pulls the rug from right underneath you and reminds you that certainty is a weakness in and of itself. And yet this book is still able to be witty. Dark wit, but nonetheless. Zarathustra becomes a little bit more satirical as the book progresses. Nietzsche knows how absurd it is that he's created a prophet, but I think it is that absurdity and that self-awareness that is able to make this book a lot more self-aware, that the book is strangely solemn but not sterile, and is arrogant without being empty. What makes this book an amazing starting point for philosophy buffs is that Nietzsche refuses to teach it as a discipline, but presents it as a mode of existence. This is not about learning how to argue, it's about learning how to stand alone and to think for yourself without permission. By the end of this book, you don't leave enlightened, you leave unsettled. And I believe that's what Nietzsche cleverly tries to do throughout all his works. He doesn't offer peace, but he offers transformation, and also allows you to think independently, or encourages you to think independently, and not necessarily believe what we've been conditioned to believe through societal norms. I believe that Nietzsche's work is quite fundamental within your philosophy journey, whatever that is. And I definitely believe this book is a great starting point to getting into philosophy. I mean, I started by reading, I think, Albert Camus or Kafka. But if you're trying to get into Nietzsche's work and you want something that's not too daunting, I'd recommend either reading this book or uh, Beyond Good and Evil was the first book I read from him. Please let me know what books you guys would like to see me review. If you have any critiques or input, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye.